I am Aaron Nordyke. I am head of product and customer development for a financial technology startup called Drypowder. Every day I wake up just a little bit terrified because it's a whole new journey. I have learned, especially over the last couple of years, that emotions are our friends. They are trying to tell us something, trying to tell us what we value. And the fear was telling me I want to be excellent professionally. And so I would use that fear to guide me toward learning as much as possible. You get out there around people specifically to see others, to see excellence and to honor that excellence and lift it up. And also when you see a lack of excellence, especially a continued lack of excellence, remove it from the kingdom.
Aaron, thank you so much for coming on the podcast today. I'm just super excited to talk to you because you're in a moment of transition and you've stepped into a new and exciting space. So why don't you first introduce yourself and tell the people who you are?
Yeah, I am Aaron Nordyke. I am head of product and customer development for a financial technology startup called Drypowder. We are in our very early stage. We are currently looking for pre-seed funding. My background is in first software engineering, and then for the last 8 years or so, engineering leadership. That's where I've really been honing my skills, becoming a line manager, then becoming a middle manager. And now I have taken a total transition, at least in my mind, to do product, which every day I wake up just a little bit terrified because it's a whole new journey.
That's a perfect segue because I think every product leader probably wakes up with a little bit of that fear. So I think that's healthy. Mm-hmm. I think that's a really good thing. Talk to me a little bit. So I love this journey. When we talk to a lot of folks, we talk about how did you come into product? Now, yours was a transition into a new company and a new opportunity. But tell me about your history. Tell me about a little bit more about that journey of being in engineering and then kind of leading engineering teams. What did that look like? What was a day-to-day look like for you?
Yeah, starting in software engineering, I began to quickly realize that all of us have I always forget the term, that fear of that I don't know what I'm doing and everybody else does.
Oh, the imposter syndrome?
Exactly, yeah. And I could sense it in other people. I felt it pretty hard. And so I very quickly learned how to hold space for other people, to remember that everyone is a beginner, everyone is scared. And so it really became a goal of mine to create that environment where people didn't feel so scared and people began to flourish. And I saw that there was this natural ability. First, it was as a senior engineer. I worked at VML, the advertising agency, and that's when I really discovered I could have this effect with other engineers. And soon, I was being assigned 10, 15 engineers that were just with me on a project. I was mentoring them and creating this space for them. I really liked that. And after a few years, I got invited by some of those engineers to go work at C2FO, the financial technology company. And then I spent the last 10 years there, first as an engineer, where again, I was reminded that of that fear, especially when I joined their core domain team, the one that is the heart of the IP for the whole company. The fear was larger than I'd ever experienced. And then I realized, wait, I'm sure everybody else feels this. And eventually, I got promoted to becoming manager of that team for a bunch of back-end engineers that write Scala. And it morphed into a couple of teams. And then my boss, who was principal engineer of the company, and then later VP of engineering, he moved over to run more of the data teams and some of the platform teams. And he saw an opportunity for me to recreate what I had done in this core domain team in a completely new domain, which was DevOps and engineering services. And I said, Doug, I don't know these disciplines at all? And he said, it doesn't matter. I don't care that you aren't good at those things. I know what you're good at. And so I did the same thing, and the teams began to flourish. And then he asked the same of me for information security, another domain that I definitely don't know. So the panic rose a little bit, but I rested on the fact that I know how to create an environment where people feel safe and feel like they can excel. And then 10 years later, after a couple of months of a paid sabbatical that they rolled out, I had enough time away to like really think about, okay, what's next? Well, I don't know, but I want to do something. At the same time, my old boss, Doug, left the company. And when I left C2FO, I didn't know what was next. And on the day, my first day, not at the company, he reaches out and says, I have this opportunity for you. I've started a startup with the former president of C2FO, and I'd like you to join. And I thought, well, he's already doing engineering. He's the engineering leader. He's the CTO. There's no room for me. What could he possibly be thinking? So Doug, what are you thinking? Well, I'd like you to run product. I don't know what I'm doing in that space. So I spent a lot of time thinking about it. I reached out to a few people that I respect in product and I asked them what they thought. And their honest answer was, we think that you'd be great at this. So I trusted them and leapt into it.
Okay, so I'm going to pull on some themes there. So first off, I've noticed that you recognize and you kind of name the fact that at each of these stages or each of these moments, there is fear. It's like the fear is there, right? And you don't name that as being necessarily a negative or a positive thing. It's just how you felt, right, in the moment. Yeah. And then you stepped kind of towards it saying, okay, well, I'm going to lean into that. Even though I'm afraid, it's not going to stop me. I'm going to lean into these new roles, these new challenges. And in some ways, it sounds like you were really lucky to have folks that were kind of calling you into new challenges or pulling you, even as you maybe it was the right timing anyways for you to kind of be like, maybe there's something more. And then the opportunity be there. And you're like, I'm scared of that opportunity, but I'll go for it and I'll learn the new thing. Is that an accurate assessment of how you've kind of moved through each of these roles?
I would say so. I have learned, especially over the last couple of years, that emotions are our friends. They're trying to tell us something, trying to tell us what we value. And the fear was telling me, I want to be excellent professionally. And I worry that I don't have what it takes in that. And so I would use that fear to guide me toward learning as much as possible. I would grab in any one of these stages, I'd grab what people consider the industry standard books, and I would pour through them and practice them. I would also tell people, be very vulnerable, hey, I'm scared regarding this. I wouldn't run away. That's probably a strength, is that I've learned to not run away when I feel that fear.
And honestly, I think that is a huge strength, because a lot of folks don't know how to do that. They don't know how to go, if I'm afraid of it, then it's probably not good for me. And so I need to go find something that makes me feel safe and comfortable and good and everything else. But you have actually learned and grown and become better because of that fear in so many ways and pressing up against it.
Yeah, I'd say so. Yeah.
Fascinating. Okay. And then another thread to pull on in that, and from what I heard there, was that you talked about creating space for people. And this has been a consistent theme for you in each of the new roles. So as you took on kind of management responsibilities or even peer responsibilities, it sounds like that was already naturally happening with your peers. And then it became a more formalized thing with you as a management role. What's a really tactical or very specific way that you could kind of describe what that's like? Because I can say I'm making space for my wife and she'll be like, yeah, you're not paying attention, right? Or whatever. And in my mind, I'm thinking, I'm here, I'm in proximity to you. what does it mean for you in a tangible way, whether it's a conversation style or a ceremony or a tool? What does that making space look like?
Yeah, that's a great question. I'm going to get a little bit philosophical before I get tactical.
Love it. Let's go there.
So Carl Jung, the analyst, he talks about archetypes, and one of the archetypes or energies is the king archetype. I'm not saying that I'm the king, but king energy is not about being seen. It's about seeing. You get out there around people specifically to see others, to see excellence and to honor that excellence and lift it up. And also when you see a lack of excellence, especially a continued lack of excellence, remove it from the kingdom. You have to remove that fast. So making space is be very attuned to what your teams are doing. You're paying attention specifically to bless them, to let them know, I see what you're doing. This is incredible. I value it. Continue doing it. And then when you see people being excellent, lift them up. Forget about trying to impress anybody else on those teams. That's not your job. That's the sign of a weak king. And then on the other end of things, there is behaving in a way where you are micromanaging everybody. You are stomping on people. That is a tyrant king energy. So find a way to show that benevolent kind of energy. So tactically, I would, every month with my skip levels, I would have a skip level meeting with all of them where they would just ask questions. We would talk about projects that were going on. I would tell the group things that were really impressing me that certain people were doing.
Things that you'd seen, right? You'd actually say that's them knowing you're watching, and not in like an overlord way, but like in I actually see your work.
Yeah, I see your work and it matters, and I see excellence, and I see growth too. When we have with my direct reports, when we have one-on-ones and there are coaching opportunities, if I see that growth over the course of the year, I'm going to point it out how proud I am of that. That person stepped out of their comfort zone. So that's the holding space for other people that I talk about.
I think it's really good. And I think it's something that folks intend to do. I think most leaders that I talk to would say that is my intent, but the practice doesn't always match the intent. Yep. And I think it sounds to me like you built in some disciplines, both in frequency and then intentionality, around saying, I'm going to be, like you say, I'm going to watch, I'm going to look for opportunities to encourage and praise, but also to give constructive feedback, because I think that I tend to err on being far too nice, right? So I can be the leader that goes, everything you do is great, even when there's some areas that they probably need to improve on. And so where it is a pull for me is to figure out, how do I give you constructive feedback that's going to make you better so that you like your job more, that I appreciate your work more, and that the overall organization and you thrive. I mean, that's the whole point. That's a tension to hold though, because not everybody can hold that both. I want to recognize, encourage, and construct all in one package.
What really helped me with that, for holding that tension, was when I attended this workshop called Problem Solving Leadership Workshop. It happens twice a year in Albuquerque. Highly recommend it. We talked about how constructive leadership isn't just corrective feedback. We all crave a high level of certainty. And if you tell somebody, hey, what you're doing is what I want you to continue doing, that is constructive feedback. That gives them certainty of, oh, I am on the right path. I wasn't sure what my manager thought of me, but now I understand that I am going in the right direction, and I'm going to go faster in that right direction. So that's really good. I would say don't worry too much about the amount of positive feedback that you're giving to people, especially if it's increasing their level of certainty.
Okay, so I think this is really important, because one of the reasons this podcast is called People of Product is that in the end of the day, we're all in the business of people. we happen to be designing and building technology that hopefully is going to make meaningful change and value in whatever market or industry we serve. But at the end of the day, it's people doing the work. At least for now, we'll see where AI comes. I mean, it's, whatever. But for now, it is figuring out how to get human beings to row in the same direction, to level up and continue to level up. So as you're stepping out from a relatively good size organization, C2FO has grown and is much larger compared to a very small early stage, pre-seed startup. What are some of those things that you're thinking about in that transition, knowing that you don't have a big team around you to go, hey, I'm going to, do this kind of kingdom mindset, right? I have a small little village now. What does that shift? How are you thinking about that? I know that you're intentional. I think before we started recording, you were like, I've got all these books. I'm thinking through all these things, like you said earlier. What is the intentional space that you're holding for yourself right now as you're making that transition?
Yeah, there are a couple of things. When I joined C2FO, I was employee, I think 67, and it's grown to, I think now there are 650 people.
Yeah, right.
But even at 67, there were a lot of things already set in stone. There were processes, there was a certain culture there. And I like this idea that I can create a culture and a certain way of being at a company right now in its infancy. If I can set up these things now, I can create something really flourishing and wonderful for the people that are going to join this company pretty soon. So I'm thinking a lot about that. And with the two co-founders and our designer, really trying to create this culture of being honest with each other about our fears, supporting each other, creating certainty. Even at this small stage, I realized, wait, these are human beings who are uncertain, who are scared, who don't know what the future holds. And I have an opportunity to create something special for them so they can flourish. So that was a surprising thing for me when I joined this. But also at the same time, I am with product and specifically the methodology of customer development. I'm really thinking about what is this product that we are creating? Who are our customers actually, and what are the problems that we want to help them solve? So that was a surprising thing with product is I try to have a high level of empathy, and that seems to be carrying me quite a bit during this period of I don't know what I'm doing. I just follow the empathy and be very attuned to our alpha customer to figure out why they want to throw their computer through a window and try to help solve that.
I wish that's going to be like the thumbnail, right? It's like why every product leader should be focused on keeping their user from throwing their computer through the window.
Yeah.
You're at that like really special moment in an early stage organization. And we've worked with lots of early stage companies, and there's a little bit of the, like you said, the fear in it because you have a window to make it work, right? Whether that's funding or maybe market opportunity or whatever that is, you've got a window. And part of that window is like, there's kind of this honeymoon period of like, we can do anything, which is both exciting and can almost open the kind of aperture almost too wide sometimes. I'm curious, as you're stepping into this product role, and part of your responsibilities is to focus on the true value proposition for your user. I don't know how far you're into the process of developing the product, but what does that look like? How, I guess in some ways, how are you holding space for your user?
Yeah. Well, tactically, I have a meeting every Monday so we're focusing on accounts receivable. So I meet with the accounts receivable manager of our alpha customer and talk to her each week about her pains. I've spent a lot of time learning the accounts receivable domain, looking at it. What's great about marketing sites from competitors is they write a lot about the domain because they want to appear experts.
Yeah.
And so I can just ride their coattails and become experts because of what they've written to try to attract customers.
Well, then some LLM has been trained on that, so you can chat with ChatGPT about it as well. I mean, because it's all publicly accessible content.
Yeah, we've done that a lot. So that's the main thing, is understanding their space. And there's a realization of, I'm here to solve a specific problem for them.
Right.
And they're there to just get through the day. They weren't trained as engineers, as there's a certain skill set of problem solving. And in a lot of cases, they weren't even given permission at their company to be problem solvers.
Yeah.
And so if they had a different culture themselves, then maybe they probably wouldn't need us. They could figure this out themselves. And so I see that I have an opportunity to do this thing that they don't even know that they could do for themselves, which is
really well said.
Yeah. Make their lives a lot easier.
I like this idea of the fact that you were really trying to, in some ways, empower your user, your customer. But what I'm also hearing a little bit is that in an early stage, you've got one, or maybe there's multiple, but you're definitely focused on one alpha user that you're really saying, you're going to be our archetype for what we want to build. Mm-hmm. One risk, and I know I've talked to lots of product people, whether you're in-house or you're in a new venture or you're in a company that's been around forever, is that you can run the risk of building the product for the one. Mm-hmm. How are you thinking about validating whether or not this is a problem for more than just this one customer or more than this person that you meet with on a regular basis? How are you ensure that there's a market opportunity there beyond just this one person? Just kind of
probably failing at that. I'll tell you what I'm trying to do, and I'd love any coaching regarding this.
Sure.
Learning the domain, I can tell that there are certain problems that everybody has. And so that's definitely giving me evidence about my hypothesis.
Sure.
On
that's
how
the research part, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
The other thing is we are specifically targeting the lumber and building materials industry.
Oh, okay.
And for right now, because our CEO, the former treasurer of C2FO, or former president, he was the global treasurer for all of Do It Best hardware, which is now the largest.
So he knows that marketplace. And
he knows it inside and out. He has the connections. And so there's a natural distribution channel because of him that we're going to take advantage of.
Yep.
In that space, there are some industry ERPs that just excel at inventory management. In any very specific industry, you're going to have these ERPs that are great at one thing. And so everybody uses them. Mm-hmm. So one of these owns about 32% of the market share, and their competitor owns about 32% of the market share. And so between the two of them, they are
the industry.
They are the industry. Yeah.
Yeah.
And what's great is because of that, we can really, I am helping with this one ERP and helping solve these problems in AR. Yep. I'm checking it against, okay, what do I know about the other ERP? What we're doing here, would it help in the same way? And the other thing is I have a subscription to Lumber and Building Materials magazine, their trade journal. So I'm always
industry aware. I love it.
I'm always in their kind of headspace. And I'm getting a sense that the customer I'm talking to represents, to quite a big degree, the other customers.
Yeah. Okay. That's helpful. And it's always just a caution. It's not necessarily that it's the wrong thing to do, because obviously you need to be focused, and it can be easy to go, well, I need to build a product that will serve everyone. But the other end of that pendulum is I accidentally end up creating a custom product for one company that actually doesn't serve the rest. So that's good. Now I looked at your website, and at least at the team that I could see on the website was, you have the CEO, and thinking about product and client experience. Mm-hmm. You've got a CTO, and I felt like there was a fourth person. I'm now not remembering.
Designer.
Then a designer, right? UX. That's great. So in many ways, you have the triad kind of represented there, right? The UX, technology, and product, or business and product. What does that look like for you at this stage of the company to be collaborating as kind of like a product team, a triad product team? Are you actively collaborating, or is it a step away, find the problem, solution, come back together? You're in that early stage where there's nowhere to hide. So I'm curious what that looks and feels like right now.
There's an almost extreme collaboration. Our CTO, who is right now primarily writing the code, he does need a lot of heads down time to solve the problems. But we have stand-up every single day, and the stand-up always turns into a large discussion about fundraising efforts, about go-live blockers. Really, it becomes a project management meeting as well. And there's problem solving for whatever the feature is that we need to solve. We are... The three of us in the triad, we're all in Figma together, reviewing the designs. We also all have the code base installed locally, and we are in the code base. Today, after the phone call, I am going to go ahead and make a couple of changes myself around our customer support beacon that's in the app.
Which is great because you have that technical background that you can contribute in that way. Yeah.
I can it really helps I already know the limitations, and I know what the CTO is going to say. And so I can really think about ahead of time instead of getting surprised by him.
There are pros and cons no matter what a product background for a person comes from. So I know on previous guests on the podcast, we've had lots of people that came from like a journalist or a marketing background. So they were thinking a lot about, say, product market fit, right? Or how do I distribution models, that type of thing? Or how do I do research to better understand my user? Then we have a few that were from engineering backgrounds. They're going, I know what I can and can't build. I know what maybe the roadmap is going to look like as we think about the sequencing of what we're going to build. Because if it were me, this is how I would do it, right? And then there's some that are really just purely business. I'm just thinking about the numbers. I need to think about metrics. I need to think about, hey, if I see this much time on page, then I should see this type of conversion. I should see this type, whatever that might be. Like they're thinking about I know I can get the numbers to be optimized if we head it from that lens. Unfortunately, a product person has to at least be aware of all those things, even if they have a forte in one of the corners of the kind of business technology mix. Your background in technology is a superpower right now because you guys need to get this thing built, right? I'm curious, where do you feel like you're going to be stretched? And I have some guesses, but where do you feel like you're going to be stretched when you actually start to go, okay, now we have our first beta out or alpha out, and now we're starting to actually see data flow through it at a volume level that's not, just one customer using it every once in a while, but now like actually seeing higher volume. Where do you think you're going to be stretched in your new product role?
In my new product role, where I'll be stretched, if you're familiar with attachment theory, I am currently a fearful avoidant who is learning to become secure.
I love how self-aware you are. It's fantastic. It's fantastic.
Thank you. I know that I'm going to have to start really doing outreach for customers, doing interviews. That's going to be a fear thing that I'm going to have to lean into. What's great is our designer doesn't have that problem at all. So he is going to help me in that direction.
And you can leverage him in that way. That's great.
Going to leverage him, to a huge degree. He's already pushing me in that direction, and I appreciate it. Sometimes I feel like he's pushing me with me kicking and screaming, at least internally. Yeah,
that's healthy. That's good.
The company's going to be stretched with probably sales because the way that we've structured it right now is there's going to need to be sort of a heavier hand on implementation since we have these industry ERP integrations. So we're going to need to hire some salespeople, probably going to need some implementation people, especially as we build out more integrations. That's where we're going to have to start doing our next hires. I'm going to have to continue to, probably I'll have to even more lean into doing software engineering as we're building out our continued feature set, because we are just beyond MVP. We have a great working product.
Yep.
But you look at us compared to our competitors right now, and there are still some things that, like, I would call table stakes that we still need to do. But once we get those in line, I think it's going to be about that growth. The install base is going to, that's going to stretch me as a product person.
I think that's an exciting place to be. One of the, as we talked about earlier, kind of where there are areas to kind of pay attention is that as you get drawn back into the place that you're most safe, which is probably something closer to engineering, it can be really easy to let those other things go, right? And go, you know what? Well, I'm going to do what I'm great at. And I can kind of be the hero of that space to support and rescue and fix and whatnot. I think that I'm excited to see you step into kind of what you've already done throughout your career. See you step into the spaces that you're most afraid of. To go, oh, you know what? I can talk to a net new user. I can talk to a prospect. I can talk to, someone who really doesn't like us yet. And then win them over to the potential of what we can do for them and earn that trust and that respect. I love Reid Hoffman's definition of trust is consistency over time. Consistency over time. Yeah. So you can actually trust somebody to be terrible to you, or you can trust someone to be great and to deliver incredible results. But the consistent way they deliver over time is what you're going to expect from them. So in some ways you could say trust is like an expectation, right? Here's what I expect from you. And I think like positive trust is when you start to build the relationship with your customers and your clients and your team to say, I've delivered in this way consistently, even when I didn't really want to, or when I didn't feel right. And you can expect that I'll do it again. And oh, by the way, tell your friends, right? And it sounds to me like you've done that really well in the leadership of your teams. Now in an early stage venture, you get to do it with the peers around you at the startup team, plus your users and your customers. That's exciting space to be.
I like that. I like that reframe. It is exciting. Your Reid Hoffman definition, it reminded me of Brene Brown when she talks about trust being a marble jar between two groups. And every single time that you meet that expectation, you're putting a marble in the jar. And there's no one action that's going to empty that jar of all the marbles. That's given me comfort of there's almost nothing I can do to get someone to just turn over that marble jar and get rid of everything. So I can build
we used to talk about it
time.
like deposit. I mean, you're in the fintech world, right? Yeah, we used to talk about it as like deposits, like you have to put trust deposits in. Because you can't withdraw from something that they don't know. If you start to say, I demand that you do it my way, it's like, well, I don't know you and I don't know why you would want me to do it that way. But if you say, hey, I'm going to deposit into some areas where I can say, hey, I'm going to deliver for you consistently. Now, when you start to say, I need something from you, I need you to participate. I need you to give me feedback. I need you to maybe refer somebody to me or whatever. You've built that trust to say, when I do this, I won't ruin your reputation or your expectations of me or anybody else. It's a huge factor. Very, very hard to do because it's a patience game, because you need that time. You need that time variable. Unfortunately, we're not very patient when we're trying to fundraise and get our early customers. So, it is what it is. Well, okay. I want to look at our time here. First off, I really love your intentionality. It is an interesting thing because we meet lots of folks in the space coming from all different types of backgrounds. And then those that want to make a name for themselves, want to be famous, they want to make lots of money, and none of that is negative in and of itself. But then there are those that are just really thoughtful about the work behind the work. And it sounds to me like that's something you're very passionate about, is like the meta work, the work behind the work that takes you doing things under the surface before you actually get to the results you want in the real world. And I'm so excited to see like your startup venture life just go like through the roof. It's going to be amazing. And you as a product leader, that all of that intentionality is just going to like immediately provide value as a product leader.
I hear that. I'm taking that in.
It's true. Trust me. I've seen a lot of product people step into the role and they had no business being there. And the ones that were intentional made it exactly what it needed to be.
My own personal opinion is the ones that should not have been there, their biggest sin is that it's that weak king energy of, I need to appear to be the smartest one in the room. It's my way or the highway. I need to make sure everyone knows that these are my ideas, and I'm going to stomp all over the designers. I'm going to stomp all over the product people that report to me. I want to make sure the whole company knows that everything is about me and my brainchild. If we are successful, it's because of me.
Exactly right. Yeah. Mm-hmm. I think there's two ends of the spectrum though there. Real quick on that before we wrap up, because we talk a lot about this thing we refer to here at Crema as humble confidence. And humble confidence is this really interesting dichotomy of holding, or paradox of holding, both humility of I have a lot to learn and I'm really hungry to learn and I'm willing to learn, but also confidence that I can take on any challenge and provide value, and we're going to strive towards that value, and you can trust that I'll deliver. But on the extremes of those, too much confidence kind of becomes what you talk about, and I refer to it as cockiness. Like, it's the cocky leader. Nobody likes the cocky leader, right? It's the I'm the most important person in the room. You need to listen to me and just do what I say and everything's going to go perfect. Often not true. Sometimes it is, unfortunately, and that's really annoying, but mostly not true. But on the other end of the spectrum, there is the overly humble person that becomes timid. And so what ends up happening is they spin on things and they don't make decisions, and then people are waiting for a direction, and then they're not actually seeing any momentum, any forward trajectory. And you go, well, why didn't we make progress? Then that your board and your investors and your peers go, well, why didn't we get to where we need to be? And it's like, I don't know. I wanted the team to have contributions, so I didn't say anything. And there's a space right in the middle where it's like, okay, team, I'm confident enough that I think this is a potential direction that I want to like encourage us in. Push back if you think otherwise. And then you use the principle of consent over consensus, which is this idea that at a certain point you have to make a decision to move forward. We're not maybe all going to agree, but like we have, and you as a leader, especially as a product leader, might have to say, we have differing opinions. We're going with this one, you know, and like making that hard decision. Right now you get to do it because like it's basically just you and maybe the person right next to you. But as the team grows, that's a challenging thing to do. And I'm sure you've had to deal with that when you were on your technical teams.
Yeah, absolutely. Both the coaching people who are on the poles of each side of humble confidence, also the decision-making, and there's a frustration. So I had an engineer who, he loved the phrase benevolent dictator. That's what he prefers in leadership. Is somebody that he trusts, that's just going to tell us this is the direction that I think you should row. But in order to have that, there has to be a high trust situation.
That's exactly right. You got to have those trust deposits. Yeah. Well, Aaron, I want to honor our time here. Very great conversation. Learned a lot from you, both of areas that I need to stretch and maybe push into some of the places that I'm afraid to go. So I think that's a good challenge for me. And hopefully get some encouragement back to you around, you've got this, and I'm super excited to see your product career take off. But I want to give you space to tell people where they can connect with you, learn about the new venture. Where can people find more about you?
Yeah, I'm on LinkedIn. I think the handle is Nordyke, but just search for Aaron Nordyke. You're going to find me. The name is unique enough.
Yep.
Our startup company is Drypowder. You can visit it at drypowder.io, which I'll do a humble brag. I built the entire marketing site. Very proud of what I've done. There's work to do. We'll continue to work. It hasn't arrived yet, but I like what I've created. What else? The Drypowder is a LinkedIn/Drypowder. I am in the Kansas City area. You can, hit me up. I'll have coffee with you or dinner, or maybe if you want to go running together, we can do that.
Okay, well, the first two I've got with you, coffee and dinner, I'll do. Run, I'm not a runner. I like being fit, but running just hasn't clicked with me yet. I don't get that runner's high that people talk about. So, but yeah, take them up on it. I know multiple people that have met with Aaron, and they've only said great things, which is why he's on the podcast today. So Aaron, thank you so much for joining me today. This was such a pleasure.
Thank you, George. I appreciate it.
People of Product is brought to you by Crema, a design consultancy that helps forward-thinking leaders discover, understand, and execute on their greatest opportunities. Learn more at crema.us.